Do you see the beach behind me? Do you see the city before me? Do you see me? I know you see me. Okay, so I'm gonna prop myself up here, and I'm gonna stand back here, and you are going to watch me stand in the darkness ominously at 9:13 p.m. on a Sunday evening while I talk about a topic that's been playing on my mind for some time. We are going to discuss Gibson Girl by Ethel Cain, and how, in some ways, it is a critique of hedonism and all that comes with it. So, for the uninitiated, hedonism is all about the pursuit of pleasure, prioritizing what makes you feel good. And in some ways, Gibson Girl is all about that. You know? There's that refrain, if it's so bad, then it wouldn't feel good. As if to say that because something feels good, that makes it good. So feeling is equated with objective value. Although, despite the fact that feeling is subjective, what makes one person feel good will make another feel like shit. And yet, oh, it makes me feel good, therefore it's good. I want to unpack this because hedonism is something I feel that I've led my life by. And hearing Preacher's Daughter by Ethel Cain really made me sit down and unpack the philosophies upon which I'd built my life. So I really just want to take this song for what it is and disembowel it, so to say. I'm sorry, it's violent language, but this is the album we're talking about in which, you know, a woman is cannibalized by her freaky truck driving boyfriend. You know, like, this is the territory we're in. Don't judge me, okay? So, I think the first thing to look at is Ethel's own words about this song. I'm paraphrasing here. Literally, this is off the dome, so don't judge me. But, like, I know that in the pursuit of making this album, she said that this song basically reflects on a woman's desire to take her sexuality back from men, being like, hey, I'll give you what you want, but it's on my terms, so I feel empowered. But I'm realizing that at the end, the man still got what he wanted, and you still feel hollow at the end of it. And just because you tell yourself, oh, well, it makes me feel good, it's like, does it really though? Does it really though? What I love about Gibson Girl is the way that her voice is echoey, kind of hazy, and, you know, obviously it's meant to depict the fact that she's been drugged up by this guy, but also it's not just about drugs, it's about that disembodiment from the self, the detachment from the self. Because when you're in pursuit of hedonism, you're not really thinking about your life. When you're pursuing everything that makes you feel good, it is at the expense of having a life. You don't have a life. Because living life is about experiencing the ups and downs. Hedonism is all about up, 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 up. You do not want to go down, because down makes you feel depressed. Down makes you feel angry. Down makes you feel alone. And you don't want to feel alone. You're a hedonist. You're meant to feel high all the time. And so you become disembodied from yourself. You forget who you are. You are a vessel for experiencing pleasure. And so even your own voice floats away from you, kind of echoes, it's fragments, portions of a whole, but never quite there. That's what we get from Gibson Girl. We get a girl who doesn't know who she is, and it comes at such a stark contrast to Thoroughfare. I'm sorry, I can't speak English. Thoroughfare. Where she's so happy. Like, it's the happiest we've ever seen her on this album. And she says, with all my dumb luck, with all your dumb luck in this truck, it's the only place I want to be. And it's just so sad. It's so sad because, you know, we get this is the story of a girl who feels lost in the world, I mean, look at me. Fuck. I'm standing on a beach in the pitch black. No one else is here. Ah, that is me. She is me. You know, like that's me. And yet, you know, you feel lost in the world, and you feel like you finally found someone that grounds you, that makes you realize you know who you are. But the reality comes in. The reality sinks in the next song, that this is an experienced man, an experienced manipulator who has made you feel loved and has used that as a weapon to turn you into a sex toy, his human sex toy. That's what is happening here. And I think Gibson Girl kind of looks at the way so many girls and young women experience, you know, the problem with feeling disembodied from yourself and prioritizing hedonism is that it sets you up for manipulation. It sets you up to be mistreated by men who see a fragile little girl and they think, if I make her feel good about herself, she is putty in my hands. That's how they think. And that is what this song tackles. It tackles an experience that is very real for a lot of young women. And so I think it's interesting because although the song lyrics don't imply this, you know, it's repeated, if it's so bad, then it wouldn't feel good. It's kind of like, as you look between the lines, as you realize how the song is constructed, you realize, well, she is saying this, but she's not in the right state of mind. She's an unreliable narrator. You know, you can't trust her. She can't trust herself. She can't trust anyone. You know, that's what happens. And so I think when you're in that state of distrust towards the world, towards yourself, towards everyone around you, you rely on objective facts. And that objective fact lies in hedonism. You think, okay, I do this. It makes me feel good. That's objective. Therefore, I will do it. And there is no further thought. That's how it goes. You know, I'm 20, and in my little 20-year-old brain, I don't have the means to think decisions through any deeper. I do a lot of dumb shit and don't think twice because, well, this feels good. Let me do it. And then when the consequences come, I'm like, oh shit, this has consequences? You know, and it's like, well, yes, I'm dumb, but also I'm 20. I'm not meant to have it all figured out yet. And, well, I don't think there was an age stated for, you know, Ethel, the protagonist of Preacher's Daughter. We know she's young, you know, American teenager and all, but even so, like, it's clearly an album that is meant to resonate with young women, girls, people, you know, it's meant to resonate. And it does that perfectly by kind of putting hedonism on this pedestal and then picking it apart bit by bit, exposing the shallow ideology it is, living your life by pleasure and stripping away pleasure in some kind of way, because the true pleasures in life, well, there's many of them, and not all of them offer instant gratification in the way hedonists might like. For example, waking up in the morning and walking by the beach, watching the sunrise come in, hearing the birds sing as you walk and feel the sand between your toes. That's pleasure. That's good. That feels nice. But you have to wake up in the morning first, which is fucking bullshit. It's like, bro, I'm having a good dream. I don't want to wake up, but you wake up because you know that what comes at the end will make you feel good. With hedonism, you don't have that period where you struggle before it feels good. If it doesn't feel good straight away, you don't do it. That's not what hedonism is about. You drink because it makes you feel good instantly. It makes you forget instantly. You take drugs, it hits instantly. You have sex, it hits instantly. You know, it's all about instant gratification. And it means that you don't appreciate pleasure for what it really is. You want the adrenaline. You want the initial hit, but you don't want pleasure. You just want the hit because it's better than feeling nothing. You know, we spend so much time in Preacher's Daughter feeling hollow. There's a lot of spaces in the songs where there's not really much happening. You know,
there's instrumentals where you just hear humming, you hear flies, there's a lot of empty silence. And that's because with hedonism, with desire, so much of it is spent wondering when the next hit will come. You feel empty, you feel alone, and so the adrenaline is all you have. And, well, it can come from a lot of different sources. In Gibson Girl, it's about drugs, it's about sex, it's about all of it. It's about, it's the whole fucking trifecta. That's what you've got right there. She's indulging all of it, but does it make her actually feel good? That's the question that we're left with. And, well, anyone who's actually listened to the album can tell you no. It doesn't make her feel good. And it won't make any of us feel good. We have to love ourselves. We have to not surround ourselves with men who want to destroy us for their own pleasure. That's one of the underlying messages of this album. And I think it exposes something very real within many of us, that we can pursue pleasure, but at some point it's not going to be enough. And when that day comes, what comes next? That is the question I'm currently asking myself. What comes next? I mean, standing in the middle of a beach at 9, whatever, on a Sunday evening in Blackpool, that's fun. Yeah, fuck it, why not? But I can't stand here forever. I mean, it's pretty cold. I've got this humongous coat on. Look at me. I got this humongous coat on. It's pretty cold. It's pretty late. I'm gonna start getting hungry soon. Don't know what I'm gonna eat, but that's a topic for another time. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at staying on topic, but my point is, Gibson Girl exposes a part of the human psyche that until now I don't think has been explored all that thoroughly in music. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm sure someone's going to show up in the comments like, oh, actually, this artist said this artist said that. So, forgive me. I haven't listened to every single artist who has produced every single song, so forgive me. But I'm saying that Gibson Girl kind of looks at this contradiction wherein you're conscious that what you're doing isn't making you feel good. You know that in the back of your head. Your brain is telling you something is wrong, but your body is telling you different. And it's about how do you connect your brain's desire to break free and your body's desire to stay in the same cycle, because breaking the cycle means confronting how fucked up you are, and you're not ready to do that. You know? That's what this song is all about. And, you know, it's one of those tracks that I return to. Thoroughfare, Gibson Girl. Thoroughfare, Gibson Girl. Over and over. I don't know if there's an answer. There is an answer, you know. But I'm not paid to be a philosopher. I'm just paid to well, I'm not even paid to... Never mind. I'm really bad at this. But my point is, Thoroughfare presents the scenario. Gibson Girl presents the dilemma. Thoroughfare is about a girl finding her place in the world, lonely, wanting to be loved. Gibson Girl is the end result, trusting and being betrayed, trusting in the wrong person, trusting yourself, and knowing that your heart will betray what your mind knows to be true. Your mind knows you need to get out, that you need to want better for yourself, but your heart says, oh, but he loves me really. Oh, but actually I want this. This makes me feel good. I'm taking power back. I'm the one in power. I'm the one on these men's laps. But that's not power. That is the message. That is not power. These, you know, in Gibson Girl, you know, the title itself, Gibson Girl, it takes inspiration from a painter. His name was Charles something, and he had he painted these evocative pictures of women, and they were called Gibson. Oh, Charles Gibson. Yeah. God, I was like, oh, I forgot his last name. Charles fucking You see, you can tell I'm doing this off the dome. But anyway, Charles Gibson. The girls he painted were called Gibson girls. And so Ethel is equating herself to one of these Gibson girls who pose behind a canvas and are painted by the leering eyes of a man.
Okay, so this is a major vibe killer. No imposing that background and all, but I'm just editing this video now and I realised that I kind of glossed over the Gibson Girl title, which I regret because the title is the most important part of understanding a song. And so I kind of wanted to spend a minute or two delving into that a little bit deeper. So it's not just that Charles Gibson was a man who drew idealized portraits of women. He wasn't just like, oh yeah, I like drawing women. His drawings were seen as the preferable counterpart to the new woman. So you've got the Gibson girl and you've got the new woman. The new woman is the woman who is fighting for her rights, fighting for suffrage. She doesn't care about marriage. She cares about securing her freedom and her rights as a woman. She cares about being educated. She cares about building her own life. The Gibson girl, she's this idealized image of femininity, voluptuous but not in a vulgar way, ambitious but not too ambitious. She'll go to college, she'll get educated, but she'll never be satisfied unless she has a man in her life. And men will follow her, and she'll have a sense of glee from the fact that she can wrap these men around her finger. But ultimately, she is the one who is depicted as being unfulfilled if she does not come out the other side with a ring on her hand. And so Ethel's decision to name the song Gibson Girl exemplifies just how contradictory it is to view wrapping men around your finger as liberatory, because in the end they're still getting what they want. And that is the point I made earlier. But it is really important to understand that Gibson Girl was the standard for the beauty of the average American woman. That was the standard. When women considered what they wanted to look like, it was the Gibson Girl illustrations that they looked at. That was the standard for women. It wasn't just a look, it was a personality. Everything that an American woman was meant to be is personified in the Gibson Girl. And so she's depicting herself as a Gibson Girl. It's not just about viewing herself through the male gaze, it's also about viewing herself through the American gaze almost. What is palatable for American society? And as it turns out, what is palatable for American society also translates over to other societies, because pretty much every society we can think of is underpinned by misogyny in some way. Of course, this will differ because every country has its own body standards for women, but the behaviours are the same. Don't get educated, don't think yourself above men, stay in your place. That's kind of the vibe. It's like, stay in your place, be what men want. You can be a little bit assertive, but not so much that men actually feel threatened by you. You're just a fun little plaything, It's about getting that balance. And the thing about Gibson Girl, as in the song, is that there's not really any sense of balance, so to say. I mean, if you think about the song, it's all about you want to. You don't hear her say, I want to. It's always about you. And you is speaking to this invisible man in her head. And so we can see that there's no real balance here. And it's in this way that she critiques the whole archetype of the Gibson Girl. There is no balance, there is no
equality between the Gibson girl and her man, it is still just as unequal as every other archetype that precedes the Gibson girl. It's just kind of wrapped up in a shiny little bow to make it look more progressive than it actually is. That's all. So, in this sense, we could actually consider Gibson Girl to be her viewing herself through the male gaze and reflecting this back onto the audience as if it were her own view of herself, but actually, it's that it depicts that realization of knowing that even as a woman, you're viewing there's like a little man inside your head, and it's that little man who tells you how to view yourself. You yourself cannot view yourself because, you know, the male gaze, it permeates everything, but what about the female gaze? There is no female gaze. And, well, there are women who talk about, oh, actually, you know, you get the female gaze in lesbian films, you get the female gaze in that, but what they fail to understand is that the female gaze, there is no female gaze. The male gaze describes a specific circumstance that is supported by the patriarchy we live in. You know, a patriarchal society in which women are objects, men are the objectifiers. That is a very specific hierarchy in which we exist, and the male gaze is a product of that. The female gaze cannot exist because we do not have power. We do not have a gaze that we can exact. Even as women, we have little men in our heads telling us how to view ourselves. So how can the female gaze exist in that way? Even if we say, oh, but I know it exists. I have divested myself of this male gaze. I now hold the female gaze. Do you really? Do you really? Do you really understand how patriarchy has permeated every aspect of you? What you are, who you will be. It controls every aspect of your life. Even in this album that Ethel crafted, talking about the experiences of being a young girl growing up in a religious background, religious trauma from dating abusive men, all of that. I'm talking about religious trauma and so, you know, talking about religious trauma, even then, she's got the song called Gibson Girl Viewing Herself from the Male Gaze, in a song which is entitled to kind of criticize that. You know, this song is Ethel being self-aware about how she is aware of how the male gaze has affected her life, and yet she still embodies that, because we can't help it. We can be aware of it, but there will be moments where we slip, and where we think, this is actually empowering me. You know, I myself have been a dedicated feminist for as long as I can remember, kind of bouncing from faction to faction, but I've always considered myself a feminist of some kind, and yet I have made missteps. I have not always done things that could be considered feminist. You know, I've read the theory, I've talked to many women, I've attended conferences, I've done everything a good feminist is meant to do, and yet I'm not perfect. I never will be perfect. It's hard to be perfect. And yet, I think what we can take from this is that we should be open with our imperfections. We should interrogate our desires and whether they're truly helping us, whether we truly want what we claim to desire, or if we're simply taking our fears and eroticizing them in order to make ourselves feel good. And also, we need to interrogate what it means to feel good. What does feeling good mean? You know, in the context of the song, it's, well, sex. If sex ends in an orgasm feels good, therefore, this is good. But how did that make you feel? Giving yourself over to someone who didn't love you the way you loved them, who didn't care about you the way you cared about them, realizing that while you viewed this as pivotal, they viewed you as an object. How does that make you feel? Forget the bodily sensations. Forget how good it felt in the moment. In the mind, what does it make you feel? The body and the mind need to be united when you are considering what feels good, what doesn't feel good. Bodily sensations. The thing about bodily sensations, they can be replicated. You can experience that again and again. It doesn't matter who's doing it. You can experience that again and again. So in that sense, it doesn't matter who you're giving yourself to. What matters is how they make you feel in the head. What matters is whether you feel guilty or whether you feel conflicted after being with that person, after indulging a hedonistic desire. Does it make you feel good about yourself? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel like you want to curl up into yourself? Do you feel like you want to disappear? What do you feel? Feeling good is not just a black and white consideration. It's not if I don't feel good, I feel bad. It's not that. It's not black and white. It's I feel good, but, and being able to pick that apart and figure out what you truly mean by that. Gibson Girl is a song about feeling lost in one's desires, in one's lack of grounding when it comes to understanding yourself. Gibson Girl is about that moment before you've lost yourself entirely. Gibson Girl is about us. It's about an experience which is unfortunately shared by a lot of women. And finally, I'd like to think that Gibson Girl, in a way, it's a path forward. It's a warning message. It's where we should not go. It is, if you listen to this and you see yourself in this song, it's not too late. You can turn the clock back. And so, despite the depressing subject matter, I think there is an element of hope in that message. So, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.